There is one decision we routinely see brands not considering, not reevaluating. It cuts the legs out from their AOV, their conversion rate, their customer lifetime value, and overall their profit. It's something that they touch maybe once and don't think about again. It feels like a minor decision, but it's actually huge. So today we're going to walk through what the decision is, how they're doing it, why that's a problem, how we think you should do it, and why. So, Steve, what are we here to talk about today?
Talking about product merchandising, specifically how you arrange your products on your pages, how you direct people to those products, what's featured prominently, all that fun stuff.
Shopify gives you 5 ways you can sort, and we pretty routinely see brands doing one of two, right? So that's either sorting from most popular to least popular, which is just a count of the total number of sales for each product, or newest to oldest, um, and putting the newest launched products first. So let's start with the most popular, Steve. Why is sorting by most popular one of the more common things we see, and what are some of the strengths and weaknesses behind that?
One of the reasons it's the most common is it's kind of a simple way to do it that's not necessarily totally ineffective, right? You want your product that your customers are engaging with to be sort of prominently featured. You figure that's sort of the hook that people are using into your brand. It's going to get them to buy from you. It's going to get them to have a good experience. It's going to get them to come back. It's easy to see why from a default standpoint, you would think that would be kind of the best thing to feature first or most prominently, and sometimes it will be. In fact, I'd say a lot of times it will be. Where we've seen it's not the right decision is over time if your product sales volume has changed from a relative standpoint. Maybe you're a brand that's been around for 5 years. Maybe for the first 4 years of your existence, you had one product that was your flagship product that was kind of driving all of your sales, all of your growth. And in the most recent years, maybe that product has plateaued, and you have another product that's really, kind of your new up and comer, and maybe has even exceeded your original flagship in terms of sales. Well, if you're sorting by popularity, right, your older flagship is still going to appear first. And until your kind of new up and comer gains enough ground on it, it's going to take a back seat. It might even be behind several other products, depending on how new it is, right? It's going to have a fewer total number of purchases. It's going to have a fewer total number of reviews, right? Like in a number of ways, this product, which you might want to now be leading with, is kind of taking a back seat. So that's kind of the first one. The other thing is the high to low in terms of total sales volume tells you really nothing about who actually is buying those products. So it doesn't allow you to be strategic in the sense of saying that my most valuable customers, the ones who come back, they buy this product first compared to on average, people buy this other product first. And if you're sorting kind of sales volume high to low, you're going to drift toward that average popularity. And again, maybe that's what you want to do, but instead your highest value customers are coming to the site, and the high value customers who buy, a different specific product are the ones that keep coming back and buying other products. That's going to be totally masked in this ranking high to low. So maybe you're pulling in a lot of customers that are buying your average bestseller and sort of just keeping it as your average bestseller, but then that's really not re-engaging your customers the way that you want it to over time. That's kind of the two big ones.
That makes sense. And if you have your most popular products up top on your collections or on your homepage, it almost becomes like a sample bias of, people aren't scrolling through your entire product collection. They aren't scrolling through your whole site. User Maven, which is a screen recording and testing platform, says that a solid scroll depth is about 50%. People are only seeing less than half of your products, and so if they're only seeing these top ones, you kind of limit how much your other products could be discovered and could actually rise to the top.
Right. Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that way, right? It can be.
Okay, and then what about with the newness by sorting from most new to least new? What's kind of the rationale there, and what are we kind of, when might that work versus when do we think that that's not the right solution?
Yeah, so sorting by newness, right? That might really well if you have customers that are, very loyal, and most of your traffic is people who have been to your site before, and they kind of know your product selection, and they want to come to your site and they want to see, what's new and what's up top, right? And if that's the vast majority of your customers and, kind of they drive all of your growth and sales, right? That's not necessarily a bad strategy. That said, if you're like most brands, who are a combination of acquisition and retention, if you've got a first time customer coming to your site and they're seeing, kind of the brand new products first, these are, likely not your flagship products, right? Because your flagship bread and butter products likely have been around for a while. And those are the ones you want a new customer to see. And so if you're maybe a fashion brand and you're doing kind of a limited time 4th of July apparel, and you're going to sort by product newness, and that's a new SKU. Well, at a first glance, someone who ends up on your site from an advertisement, if they're landing on your homepage, they're going to see only holiday themed things, and maybe they're going to kind of click away quickly of just like, no, I don't need anything like this. That's just this specific, right? Like the competition for attention is very fierce, right? And so you really want to grab them right away. So that's number one. That's kind of a specific example, limited time offering, but you can think about it too from established brands that are launching, kind of new product offshoots, right? Likely those new product offshoots are a later launch SKU for a reason, right? Like your heavy sales driver and really kind of the core of your business is going to be some of your older SKUs most of the time.
Perfect. Okay. So that makes sense. So seemingly the ideal is sort of somewhere in the middle, right? Between giving, figuring out the best, most popular products, and also showing newness. Before we kind of get into like our perspective on how this should be done, like fundamentally, why does it matter? Like other than the scroll depth piece that we touched on, like what matters about merchandising?
Yeah, well, it is your first place where you're showcasing your brand, right? And it's going to, kind of be the first visual signals as to what they can actually buy and what your shop is all about, right? Um, it's interesting, like in the e-commerce space, I don't think as much attention has been put on merchandising as it has been in brick and mortar, where if think about brick and mortar stores, like merchandising has been a science that's been going back like decades and decades, right? The next time you're in a grocery store, if you're a man, walk around the aisle and take a look at what's at your eye level, right? It's a huge decision goes into that. If you're a woman, take a look at what's at your eye level, and if you have kids, take a look at what's at their eye level in the store, right? Like so much of this is just about distribution and exposure and what you actually see, right? And the competition for shelf space, which is physical in brick and mortar stores, right? There's a limited capacity of it, and half the battle is just kind of being there and being seen. Um, so thinking about it from an e-commerce perspective, right? Like that's a huge part of it. Your computer screen or your phone screen only has so much real estate. You're only going to see so many things. People are not going to scroll through product and product to get to what they might ideally like to buy from you, right? If you scroll through the first three, if you're on a mobile, right? And the brand doesn't seem like it's hooking you, right? That's it. A lot of people are just moving on. So that's why this is kind of hugely important. The other thing is it really helps you sort of cross-sell and upsell your customers into purchase orders that are going to be very valuable to them and to you, right? So if people are shopping on a specific page for one of your products and you have complementary products, right? Like how easy is it for them to see that you have that complementary product also? If you're selling maybe razors here, how easy do they see that you have replacement blade cartridges as well? And is that front and center? Thinking about that from that angle, in a number of ways, it's just about availability and letting your customers know right away what you have available and what's going to be most relevant to them.
Perfect.
And so this is the way we've looked at it for a handful of brands now, which is you know, when we think about merchandising, what we want to make sure brands understand is it should be a very deliberate strategy, right? And so whether or not you're doing, kind of sort from most popular to least popular, or maybe you are sorting from newest products to oldest products, right? It should be a decision that's a conscious decision that fits with your overall strategy, right? What Sean and I would typically advocate for is actually customly curating your merchandising pages and your PDPs to kind of align with that strategy, right? If you're looking to move specific, high margin products that kind of are high moving, but maybe not your highest movers, but that's the one you really want people to sort of see first and gravitate towards, right? Put that first. Make that sort of the hero on the page, right? Um, One of the ways we like to tackle it is looking at it from an LTV perspective, and so understanding, which customers are buying which products on their first purchase, because that first purchase is often going to determine what their relationship looks like with you going forward. Um, and we've talked about before on these videos. One of the first things we do in our analysis is we take all of your customers, we break it into 10 groups, right? In terms of how valuable they are to your company. And so at the top, you've got your 10% most valuable customers, right? These are your very high LTV customers, all the way down to number 10. These are your kind of very low LTV customers buying very small dollar amounts very few times. Um, and so what we're showing here is breaking out the top three and the bottom three of these LTV deciles. and taking a look at what the top deciles are purchasing compared to what the bottom deciles are purchasing, right? And this sort of feeds into merchandising strategy because this is maybe informing what you want your customers to be seeing first. So on the left here, right, you can see like this green and teal product, very popular among high LTV shoppers, right? Very commonly found on first purchases. Compared to your lower LTV deciles, right, you're seeing this black bar, which is purchased fairly common among high LTV customers as well. But you're seeing this black bar and this blue bar really be the standouts. For this particular brand, those are actually like the variety sample packs. And so they're very focused on driving adoption for someone who doesn't necessarily know what they're looking for. Whereas on the left-hand side, this green and this teal bar, these are specific products where someone coming to this site would know that they're looking for it. And remember, this is their first purchase. So this is someone who's coming to the site and they're finding those specific things. So when you think about this from a merchandising strategy, it becomes how do you want to set up your site in a way that the high LTV people are going to be able to find what they're looking for immediately while still not necessarily cutting out the floor from maybe your one-time buyers or some of your intro level buyers, right? What we looked at from a merchandising standpoint is, this black bar very popular among low LTV people who are not familiar with the category necessarily, but also was one of the top 5 for the high LTV people. And so when we looked at this from a merchandising standpoint, this is one of the ones that jumps out as kind of a no-brainer, right? Where this is going to kind of get any entry level customer to your brand. They're going to be interested and excited about it, right? And it has the added benefit of having a positive effect on a customer's long-term relationship with your brand. And then when we looked at this green and teal bar, okay, well, maybe these are the next ones people should see as they're scrolling, right? Because if people are searching for specific products, you also don't want them to have to look too far, right? Because there's always then a risk of something distracts them or they can't find it right away and they assume you don't have it. And so that's what we ended up recommending to show next, right? Where kind of deprioritizing some of these other sampler packs in favor of kind of specific SKUs that your high LTV people are really coming to your site to try to find. This is going to be very different by brand, so it's important to do this analysis, but really breaking apart who are your high LTV and low LTV customers, what are they buying overall, and very importantly, what are they buying first?
Why is that first purchase so important when you think about this merchandising kind of perspective?
Yeah, so it's your first impression, right? It's the first product you're going to get from a brand that you've not had any experience with before, right? You really want to put your best foot forward. You want it to be something that people are going to be excited about and want to come back to your store. Ideally, all of your products are something that make, your customers very excited and very engaged, but for multiple SKU brands, that's just not going to be the case, right? There's going to be certain products that are really going to be kind of your best first impression. First impressions are very important in all things, not just retail.
And and then we spoke in one of our earlier videos about kind of behavior from people that buy X product, then they usually buy a Y product or a Z product, right? And
Hmm.
so that would be the other side of this coin. Once we know what they initially bought, we likely have them signed up for email through the checkout and opting into marketing there. We're going to have a post-purchase email regardless because we'll have a transactional message to go out. We'll have the cart. And so you can start to, even in the cart, you can have an upsell or a cross sell. And the post-purchase confirmation email, you can have a cross sell. And then in your follow-up emails, but it can all be based off of them giving you that first signal of kind of what they're interested in, what product is right for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's our next visual here, right? Which is thinking about, okay, after you have them hooked, right, how do their next steps inform your merchandising strategy, right? And so I'd urge every brand out there to build something similar to this, which is understanding what your customers buy on the same transaction together, most commonly, and what do they buy next, most commonly. To Sean's point, this can really inform kind of your marketing, your product suggestions, right? Like how to keep them engaged after that first purchase. But from an on-site merchandising standpoint, these are the types of products that you want to think about having near each other on your pages, on your suggestions for add to cart, right? When they're at the checkout. These are the products you want them to say like, hey, have you checked this out? Because we know other customers who bought this have found this product valuable in tandem, right? And so what we're looking at in these charts is specific products along the vertical side here that's been bought, and then what percentage of the time another product has been bought with it. So you can see the diagonal is 100% because that's just one product with itself. They're together 100% of the time. But then if you look at this second cell here, there's 47.1. this product two is bought with product one 47% of the time. You see these percentages don't add up to 100 because people mix and match multiple ones of these for this particular brand. People are typically buying 4 or 5 products at once. But you start to see which combinations people look for in their basket, right? And so if you look at SKUs 1 through 3, these are all purchased together at very high rates. If you look at SKU 5, people are pairing SKUs 1 through 3 with that at a very high rate as well. So you want to be looking at those 3 SKUs as the one to really kind of cross sell the cart and in your follow up efforts, right? We have customers who are purchasing things after that product, right? And this is a similar type of view in terms of how to read it, but on the vertical side here, the initial purchase product that they bought, and then on their very next purchase, right? Like what percentage of the time did they buy these other products? And so here you can see which of your products have the best repeat purchase rate, right? And here we see SKU2 is most commonly repurchased after the first time. But you can also see like what are people gravitating towards next, right? What can you do to engage with them in that conversation around like you would probably also love this if you loved this because other people did. And it's just like a very simple way to do that. And the beauty of this is all done through transaction data with anonymized customer IDs. We didn't need any data outside of just Shopify point of sale data, right? This is just orders data and anonymized customer IDs and just looking at what's in those baskets and matching them up like this.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Like, first of all, you don't need some expensive plugin. You don't need to go do a whole bunch of qualitative research. You already have all the data you need to do exactly these things. Just to kind of orient a little bit more into these actual visuals, you've got these dashed boxes in the first purchase visual, the one on the left, that top left corner, with SKU 1 through 3 boxed in, and then SKU 5 with SKU 1, 2, and 3. And so these become quick and easy ways where you can see if you don't already have bundles, maybe we bundle these. If you want a people also like, rather than just doing the Shopify default recommendation engine, you can manually curate these so that on the PDP, it's like people also like or people buy with. And the reason this is so valuable, not only will you increase conversion rate generally because people will be looking at products that are similar in nature and our past performance shows people buy together, but now we're increasing AOV right away. And if you do this with products that are all correlated to high margins, high repeat purchase, high LTV, you are really starting to build a solid customer profile early on, getting them engaged deeply with your brand. And so that it kind of easily trails into repeat purchase because these are going to be your highest performing products bought together.
Yeah, that's a great point. And just to hammer on that, right? Um, we showed you, we split out product of first purchase by LTV tier, right? These views as well. What we typically look at with clients is filtering out to okay, like how does this heat map look for very high value customers versus low value customers, right? Like what are your high value customers buying together compared to what are your low value customers buying together? A lot of times, your low value customers, the answer is going to be they're buying nothing else with it, right? But if you see a huge discrepancy between maybe they bought 2 different products more often than your high LTV customers, that might tell you something about just which products are kind of really driving repeat business for you.
Yeah. And then that, so far we've really talked about the site and how you order collections, thinking about recommendation blocks, thinking about upsell blocks, that sort of thing. But taking it to that level is where you start to also get into the ad side of things and the email marketing side of things, right? Like if you are routinely seeing that there are specific products that are only bought by low LTV customer bands, exclude those from your ad sets, right? Like you don't need to be pushing these products that are low margin, low LTV, not going to bring in the right folks. You don't like if you're there's always going to be some portion of lowest LTV, but let those be organic finds. Let those be a second, third order effect. Don't be like actively going out and spending a bunch to acquire people for products that strictly are bought by low LTV customers. So not only can you remove them from your ad sets, you can build custom bundles and drive your ads to those, right? You can build custom landing pages, or at the very least, have your ads drive to a PDP as opposed to a collection or the homepage. But so if it's, if you're running an ad about a specific product, obviously go to that PDP or a custom home landing page about that. If you're running more of a brand ad, let the click drive you to your highest performing custom landing page or your highest performing product or a bundled type product with some cross sells there, right? So it not only touches how you merchandise the site, but how you create promotional materials, which products you should put ad spend behind, which products are worth featuring in your welcome series, right? If someone signs up through that pop-up on your site, if we know that high LTV customers are buying, SKUs 1 through 3, then in your welcome email, why would you put anything besides SKUs 1, 2, and 3? You should be featuring those things. Same in abandoned cart or browse abandon or post purchase. These are all places where you can put additional product recommendations, and knowing which ones correlate to high LTV, to repeat purchase, to the behaviors you really want to drive. This is a very simple way of doing that.
Yeah, agreed. And just thinking about what we talked about at the start, this should just be deliberate, right? Whatever strategy you're using, however you're merchandising and kind of pushing specific products through advertising, it should be deliberate. This shouldn't be just something that happens to you, or to to Sean's point at the start, shouldn't just be something you decided once and left as a default, because it's a powerful lever that really can be optimized and reevaluated without without a huge lift, without a huge need for kind of major external data or platforms.
Beautiful. Steve, thanks for walking us through this. Everyone out there, if you could like this video, I would appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel to get more videos like this as we put together um, guides and how-tos so that you can increase your company's profit and overall growth. And if you want some help putting something like this together, go to holsteranalytics.com and reach out to me. Thanks, everyone.